Nick Cave, talking sounds both deep and brave. Nick Cave.
Yes, Nick, you like to lurk about in churches, soaking up the atmosphere and obviously getting reacquainted with various bits of the Bible. Do you have any favourites to lurk about in?
Churches. The Brompton Oratory is my favourite church.
Yes.
It's in London.
Yes.
I haven't been to any churches here.
No. And how did you arrive at the Brompton Oratory? Was it by trial and error, or was that one of the first you walked into and enjoyed it so much you revisit it regularly?
I actually tested out a lot of churches, and in the meantime, while doing that, became so disillusioned by what I was hearing, I kind of gave it all up.
Nick, do you find the pressures on smokers these days makes it a bit harder to get through certain circumstances? And that being the case, have you got a durry on you?
I do.
Well, I tell you what, it's unusual to see people smoking on television these days. So
I smoke Irish cigarettes.
Oh, Irish cigarettes, sure.
Major.
Yeah, do you want to have one?
I'll have one, yeah. Would you like one?
Oh, why not? One in, all in.
You gonna have one?
No, I'll pass.
Go on.
Yeah, I mightn't light it, but I'll use it as a prop.
They're good for you. It says here, smoking is very good for you.
Yes, every New Year's I make a resolution to take up smoking and go down and buy a carton of something at the local store. And after a couple of days I have to give it away. I don't know why, I just can't stick with it.
No.
But thanks for this.
When do you have your first durry of a morning? Nick,
going.
No, I'll give it a go. When do you first light up? Is it before you have a cup of coffee, or do you have a packet beside the bed?
Well, it depends. I light up all through the night, actually. I smoke about every 2 hours.
Can you smoke while you're asleep?
No, I wake up especially to have a cigarette.
To have a cigarette?
I do, yeah.
Bloody hell, that's committed. Now, you've always been interested in art, and in fact, painting was going to be the one for you, and not music. I think I wanted to. If I'm wrong here, I think you felt an imposter in the world of music, and I don't know whether that's because you felt you wanted to be a painter first. But what sort of daubings were you interested in? More your Francis Bacon sort of grotesque imagery, or what?
Well, it was my art teacher. The reason why I failed was that my art teacher decided that my art was sleazy. She said she could not relate to sleazy art.
Yes.
And I kind of went about painting sleazier and sleazier pictures, and they failed me.
Now, when you say sleazy, what do you mean? What do you mean by sleazy? Blokes with snot coming out of them?
That's not sleazy.
No, someone with a knife in them, or
no, that's not sleazy. The last painting I did was of a muscle man. And a ballerina. The ballerina was bending over, and the muscle man was looking at the ballerina's dress, and there was a kind of a dot.
Yeah.
It wasn't very good.
To her private parts.
To her.
Now.
Fundament.
Right. What seems to be a recurring theme in your music is one of enormous disappointment, disenchantment, and disillusionment. Was that the same for... Is that why you wanted sleaze? It was disillusionment as well?
I was young.
Yes.
I was young and was interested in ballerinas' fundaments.
So you saw yourself as the muscle man with the ...
Yeah, exactly. And as I grew older, I grew wiser and sadder and more disillusioned.
Disillusioned after you saw the ballerina's gear, or you were expecting something else?
Do you want me to answer that?
Well, I suppose. I mean, if you know, part of the thrust of life in those days was to cop a geek, so to speak, and then you copped a geek and left art.
But I begin on another tack. You're one of the few people, I think, who are right in saying who, when they turned 40, more or less cheered. You don't mind being 40. Why?
I've always felt old, actually.
Right.
I've always felt, as a young man, old. And the older I get, the more
easier it
comfortable I
becomes.
become.
Yeah. It's fair to say, you know, for most people, you've trodden the rougher side of the road. Do you think there is an evil or a sense of evil about, or, you know, that you encounter in your travels on the other side of the street?
I do, yeah. I think that there's
and how does that express itself?
I mean, I personally think that we're kind of born innocent, and that life makes us evil.